once the richest nation in Latin America, today a symbol of collapse. This rise began with oil and a promise of endless prosperity. Venezuela would go on to hold the largest proven oil reserves on Earth. By the 1970s, oil didn't just fuel the economy, it became the economy. More than 90% of export earnings came from oil. Prosperity looked permanent, but it rested on a single product. Industry weakened, agriculture declined, dependence deepened. During boom years, governments spent freely. Power built on oil money. Then prices fell, debt rose, instability spread, the system cracked, and the illusion of endless wealth vanished. A new era promised justice, renewal, a second chance, but power concentrated, and institutions grew weaker. Inflation surged, then collapsed into hyperinflation. Shortages spread, food, medicine, electricity. Daily life broke down. Millions left the country. One of the largest migrations in modern Latin America. How did a nation so rich fall this far? To understand the collapse, we must return to the first drop of oil. If you value stories told with real history and real facts, like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's continue. With oil wealth surging, the state grew stronger. Government power expanded. Fueled by oil revenue, the state collected royalties, controlled contracts, directed spending. Soon nearly every major decision revolved around oil. Public programs multiplied, infrastructure expanded, power became centralized, the government became the economy. Private sectors shrank, while state control kept growing. Budgets rose and fell. With every shift in global oil markets, the nation entered a new identity, a petrostate. Jobs, programs, political support, all linked to oil income. Critics warned of risk, but the model felt unstoppable. Progress looked strong, stability seemed secure, but the system had one weakness. It depended on a single resource. If prices rose, the state thrived, but if they fell, the entire structure was at risk. And soon, the first real shock would test the petrostate. Before oil, Venezuela was a modest agricultural nation. Small industries, limited exports, a slow-growing economy. Then, 1914, the Barroso No. 2 oil well erupted. It became one of the world's first great oil strikes. International firms rushed in, concessions were granted, drilling accelerated. Remote villages turned into boom towns almost overnight. Oil exports expanded rapidly. Production soared. Cities modernized, roads, housing. Industry followed the oil. Royalty payments filled state coffers. The government grew stronger. By the 1930s, oil was the nation's primary source of income. Thousands found new jobs. A new middle class emerged. But much of the wealth flowed outward, not inward. Development surged in cities, while inequality remained across the countryside. Still, oil reshaped Venezuela's identity, its economy, and its future. The nation had entered the age of oil, and with new wealth came new decisions, ones that would shape everything that followed. With oil booming, wealth felt endless. Oil money funded roads, housing, and massive public projects. Instead of building local industry, the nation imported almost everything. Manufacturing shrank, domestic production faded. Oil wealth replaced economic diversification. Life looked prosperous, consumption soared. Subsidies expanded, services grew, paid for almost entirely by oil. The boom encouraged higher spending and few long-term safeguards. Rural economies weakened, food production declined. The nation was prosperous, but built on one fragile pillar. To many, the future looked secure. Success created confidence, and confidence became belief. But the economy's strength depended on prices it did not control. Inequality lingered, hidden beneath the promise of prosperity. The nation believed oil would always be enough until the first major shock arrived, and the illusion began to break. The oil boom years arrived, and prosperity followed. Massive projects rose across the nation. Living standards improved, a new middle class emerged. Foreign products filled stores, consumption soared. Schools and universities grew. Opportunity seemed everywhere. Millions depended on state jobs, funded by oil money. Economic growth climbed. Revenues reached historic highs. To many, these years felt like confidence and pride. The nation believed progress was permanent, all of it, powered by a single resource. But prosperity was uneven. Not everyone shared the boom. Factories slowed, agriculture weakened further, and the economy grew more dependent. Every year, the future looked bright, but that future rested entirely on markets beyond Venezuela's control. And soon, the boom would face its first major test. If you're finding value in this story, like the video, subscribe for more documentary-style history, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's continue. Beneath the boom, a weakness was forming. The nation bought more and produced less. Local industries struggled. Many simply disappeared. Agriculture declined. Food dependence increased. The economy grew, but only in one direction. Jobs shifted toward the state. Fewer came from production. Short-term popularity replaced long-term planning. Even basic necessities depended on foreign supply. When oil slowed, everything else slowed with it. Investment lagged. Maintenance fell behind. Experts cautioned the model was fragile. Inequality widened. Opportunity remained uneven. Millions depended on a system that depended on oil, and all of it rested on prices far beyond Venezuela's control. The weakness was quiet, almost invisible, until the first major crash arrived, and the silence finally broke. With oil money flowing, the currency strengthened. Imports became cheaper. Foreign products flooded the market. Local businesses couldn't match the prices. Factories shut down, jobs disappeared. Food production declined, while reliance on imports grew. The stronger the currency, the weaker other sectors became. Oil expanded, everything else contracted. This phenomenon had a name: Dutch disease. Booming resources unintentionally damaged the wider economy. Rural workers left their fields, chasing oil-driven jobs. Cities grew, the countryside weakened, and national strength depended on a single industry. But that industry lived inside a market Venezuela could not control. The imbalance deepened, resilience disappeared. The economy looked strong, but its foundation was narrow. And soon, the world would experience a major oil price crash, and Venezuela would feel its full impact. With oil money rising, power concentrated at the top. Contracts shifted quietly into the hands of a few. Deals were made, far from public oversight. Funds disappeared, budgets grew, without answers. Projects inflated, prices rose, accountability faded, wealth concentrated. While inequality deepened, power and business became closely connected. Whistleblowers warned, but investigations stalled. The state grew larger, and transparency grew smaller. Money moved through many hands, and little reached the ground. Frustration rose, trust in institutions weakened. Those close to power benefited, while others waited. Promises were built, but many projects never were. The nation grew richer, yet many communities did not. Corruption did not cause the weakness, but it made it far deeper. And when the world economy shifted, the cost of corruption would soon be revealed. In hard times, leaders turned to promises. Subsidies grew, new programs multiplied, assistance expanded, funded almost entirely by oil money. Popularity rose, expectations rose with it. Budgets increased, even when revenues did not. Policies aimed to protect, but many weakened the economy instead. Some industries shrank, investment slowed. Short-term approval replaced long-term planning. Promises grew faster than production. More people depended on the state than ever before. Economists warned of risk, but warnings were unpopular. Popularity stayed strong as long as the spending continued. But the spending depended on a market Venezuela did not control. Power and loyalty rested on unstable ground, and when pressure returned, support would be tested. Soon, the first major oil price crash would arrive, and the true cost of popularity would be revealed. The world economy shifted, and oil prices began to fall. What seemed temporary became a global downturn. Demand weakened, revenues shrank. For a petrostate, the impact was immediate. Spending commitments remained, but income disappeared. Deficits grew, debt expanded, pressure intensified. Businesses slowed, jobs were lost, confidence fell, as anxiety spread through daily life. The nation had built prosperity on a price it did not control. And when that price collapsed, the system weakened with it. Cuts began, programs tightened, promises met reality. Public anger rose as living conditions grew harder. The fall continued, longer than many had expected. The petrostate was exposed, its fragility unmistakable. This was the warning, the first signal of what was still to come. And in the chaos that followed, new leaders would emerge. If you're following this story so far, like the video, subscribe for more deep history documentaries, and tell me in the comments, what do you think truly caused the collapse? Now, the story continues. In the aftermath of crisis, a new voice emerged. He spoke of justice, equality, a new beginning. He blamed corruption, privilege, and decades of mismanagement. A former soldier, shaped by rebellion and reformist ideas, millions saw hope in his message and voted for change. He rose to power, promising to rebuild the nation. A new constitution, a new political model. Institutions shifted. Authority moved closer to the presidency. His speeches inspired and divided. The state took greater control of the oil sector. Social programs expanded. Millions received direct support. For many, life improved and loyalty grew stronger. But critics warned democracy was weakening. And once again, prosperity rested on oil. His rise reshaped politics, power, and identity. And with global oil prices rising, his project would grow even larger. For a time, with oil revenue rising, social programs expanded. Healthcare reached neighborhoods long ignored. Literacy campaigns spread, giving millions new opportunity. Subsidized food programs supported struggling households. Education access widened, scholarships increased. For many, life improved, hope returned. But almost every program depended on oil income. As prices climbed, programs expanded even more. Public approval grew, loyalty deepened. Experts cautioned the model was unsustainable. The economy produced less, even as benefits grew. More citizens depended on the state than ever before, and the system depended on a single commodity. Spending accelerated, vulnerability increased. The programs transformed lives, but tied the nation to oil. And when prices shifted again, the cost of that dependence would return. As programs expanded, political power grew tighter. Decisions moved closer to the center of authority. Independent voices weakened, debate narrowed. Institutions became aligned with the executive. Legal reforms strengthened power, but reduced oversight. Critical journalism faded. Information flowed one way. Autonomy shrank, supervision declined. Jobs and opportunity increasingly linked to allegiance. Checks and balances weakened, slowly, quietly. The system relied less on institutions and more on leadership. For supporters, it brought unity and direction. For critics, it signaled shrinking democratic space, and all of it was sustained by oil money. The state grew stronger, while the guardrails grew weaker. The direction looked stable, but resilience was fading, and as power centralized, spending continued to rise faster than production. Oil prices rose, and government spending rose with them. More programs, more subsidies, more commitments. Money moved quickly, faster than production could follow. The nation bought more from abroad and produced less at home. Industrial output declined, even in years of record revenue. Agriculture weakened further. Food dependence deepened. Spending increased year after year, but oil production quietly fell. Maintenance lagged, investment slowed. Analysts cautioned. The system was stretching beyond its strength. More citizens depended on government income than ever before, and that income depended on a market Venezuela could not control. On paper, the boom looked strong, but underneath, productivity kept falling. The gap widened between what the country spent and what it produced, and soon another global oil shock would arrive, and the consequences would be far greater than before. Then, the world changed again. A second global oil crash hit the economy hard. Revenues fell, reserves thinned, pressure mounted. Budgets built on high prices no longer matched reality. Spending remained high, even as income collapsed. Prices rose, savings eroded, confidence disappeared. Companies struggled, employment fell. Shortages returned, and daily life grew uncertain. The nation depended on oil, just as oil failed it again. What once powered prosperity now exposed the system's weakness. Inflation accelerated, budgets broke apart. The crash lasted longer and cut deeper than before. And this time, recovery never came. Lives changed, families made difficult choices. The second crash wasn't just economic, it was a turning point, and what followed would reshape the nation's future forever. You're watching History Fact Story. Real history, real facts, real stories. If you're learning from this documentary, like the video, subscribe, and tell us your thoughts in the comments. Now, the story continues. As revenues fell, the state searched for answers. Budgets remained high. Income did not. So the government turned to the printing of money. More currency entered the system, but not more production. Prices climbed, wages lagged behind. Every purchase required more money than before. The currency weakened, confidence eroded, savings shrank, even when untouched. Imported goods became expensive, shortages increased, households adapted, sacrifices multiplied. Analysts cautioned. Inflation feeds on itself, and each new bill made the next problem worse. Stability slipped away. Predictability vanished. Money still existed, but it bought less and less, and inflation was no longer temporary. Soon, inflation would cross a breaking point and turn into something far more devastating. Then, prices began to rise faster than before. Days became costly. Weeks became unaffordable. Money multiplied, but value disappeared. The believer collapsed. Confidence broke. Every paycheck was worth less than the last. Years of savings dissolved in months. Retirees lost security. Stability vanished. Shops adjusted constantly just to stay alive. People spent immediately before value evaporated. The economy shifted from money to survival. This was no longer inflation. This was hyperinflation. Prices raced ahead of reality. Households faced choices no family should face. The currency no longer protected people. It failed them. And as money lost its meaning, millions would make a different choice: to leave. As prices exploded, supplies began to disappear. Food, medicine, basics, harder to find each week. Waiting became routine. Hope, uncertain. Rules tightened. Distribution was controlled. And where goods were scarce, the black market grew. Products appeared, but at impossible prices. Budgets collapsed. Choices turned painful. Clinics ran short of tools and treatment. Electricity faltered. Daily life slowed to survival. Families rationed food, one day at a time. Dreams paused, while reality demanded endurance. Fear replaced routine. Normal life disappeared. A parallel economy formed outside official control. Trade shifted from money to necessity. For millions, survival became the center of every day. And when survival at home no longer seemed possible, many chose another path: to leave their country behind. When survival grew impossible, people began to leave. Parents, children, entire households on the move. Journeys started with uncertainty and hope. Some walked for days, across mountains and highways. Millions left Venezuela, one of the largest migrations in modern regional history. Families separated, so someone could send money back. Not every route was safe. Many traveled through danger. Some entered legally. Others crossed wherever they could. New lives began in unfamiliar places. Dreams restarted with modest work and long days. New languages, new classrooms, new beginnings. Across borders, support flowed to families who stayed, but distance carried grief and lasting absence. Cities abroad adapting to rising migrant communities. For many, migration was not a choice. It was survival. And while millions searched for life elsewhere, the crisis inside the country was far from over. As the crisis deepened, the world began to respond. Governments issued warnings, accusations, condemnations. Sanctions were imposed, first on officials, then on institutions. Some targeted the oil sector, the core of the economy. Access to credit shrank. International trade grew harder. Leaders called it interference, a struggle for sovereignty. Inside the country, opinions were divided. Imports slowed. Production suffered further. Pressure increased on an economy already in collapse. For ordinary people, daily life grew even harder. Talks began, but solutions remained distant. The crisis was no longer national. It was regional, and the world watched closely. Sanctions did not create the collapse, but they deepened the struggle. A nation already in crisis faced even greater pressure, and soon, the collapse would reach the very heart of the oil industry itself. You're watching History Fact Story. Real history, real facts, real stories. If this documentary helps you understand the truth behind events, like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. The story continues. For decades, PDVSA was the pride of the nation. A world-class company, skilled workers, global reputation. But over time, expertise was replaced with loyalty. Professionals departed, knowledge disappeared. Maintenance declined, investment slowed. Output fell, year after year. Money, meant for repairs, vanished into bureaucracy and corruption. Equipment failed, accidents increased, fields slowed, wells shut down. And in a country full of oil, gasoline became scarce. People waited for the resource that once built prosperity. The giant of the economy could no longer stand. And with PDVSA's collapse, the nation lost its last foundation. What had once been strength became a symbol of failure. The heart of the petrostate had stopped beating, and soon the collapse of industry would reach daily life itself, in the form of shortages or outages and survival. In daily life, the crisis was everywhere. People woke before sunrise to wait for essentials. Sometimes they found what they needed, sometimes nothing. Blackouts arrived without warning. Light became temporary. Silence replaced routine. Water service failed. People stored every drop they could. Clinics worked with little. Doctors did what they could. Schools stayed open, but the future felt uncertain. Pensions lost value. Savings disappeared. Millions survived through informal work, day by day. Neighbors helped neighbors where the system could not. Many families lived across borders, divided by necessity. Life continued, but never as before. In every home, crisis shaped ordinary moments, and hope existed beside exhaustion. But even as daily life struggled to survive, the fight for power and direction inside the nation was far from settled. As the formal economy collapsed, another one appeared. A system built not on policy, but on survival. Barter returned. Goods replaced money. Networks formed, neighbor to neighbor, block to block. Foreign currency spread outside official rules, where stores were empty. Small sellers filled the gap. Skills turned into trade, work into survival. Communities adapted because they had no other choice. Food grew in courtyards, balconies, open spaces. Informal systems replaced failing services. Outside statistics, a parallel economy kept people alive. Resilience emerged, where institutions could not reach. Life became collective, survival, cooperative. This economy was fragile, but it kept the country moving. It was not prosperity. It was endurance. And while people built ways to survive, the struggle for political power was reaching a breaking point. When the crisis settled, one truth remained. Oil built prosperity and destroyed it. Dependence replaced production. Power grew, while institutions weakened. Wealth existed, but accountability did not. Other industries disappeared as oil took their place, and when prices fell, everything fell with them. The human cost spread far beyond economics. Yet in crisis, resilience remained, a society learning from its own past. The lesson was not oil itself. The lesson was dependence. Across the world, the same danger exists. When one resource becomes the future grows fragile, and recovery begins only when that lesson is faced. The oil curse is not just history. It is a warning for every nation that believes wealth can come without balance. There was a time when Venezuela believed the future was guaranteed. Wealth flowed, confidence grew, prosperity felt permanent, but prosperity built on one pillar cannot stand forever. When that pillar cracked, the nation fell with it, and the price of collapse was paid by ordinary people. Dreams paused, lives uprooted, futures rewritten. This story was not only economic, it was human, a journey from riches to ruin. Yet even in collapse, resilience survived. Because history is not only what breaks a nation, it is also what teaches it. The lesson is balance, institutions, accountability. This warning does not belong to one country alone. When a nation confuses income with destiny, prosperity can vanish faster than it arrived, and the story of Venezuela remains a lesson the world cannot afford to ignore. You've been watching History Fact Story. If this documentary gave you perspective, like the video, subscribe for more history-based storytelling, and share your thoughts in the comments below.